Bow, 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 bow. Do I have? There we go. Jesus. Boy, it's a hot fucking day. I need a fan in there. Hello, hello. Oh, just about to start streaming, and I need a fucking sneeze. God damn. Just took a steam induce. God damn. Good job. Was it one of them ones where you leave and you go, good, I did a good job in there? Sometimes you do that, innit? You go to the toilet, you go through the motions, and you end it, and it's just like, wow, that was really worthwhile. I'm really glad that's where today went. Oh, fucking hay fever, God. What a bad start. Let's restart the stream. What's up, guys? How the Hello Kitty are we? Hope we're all good. Humid, yeah, it's always humid. Jimmy, hello Jimmy, just got off your alt-right, alt-left videos as we speak. I've been very scared to see the amount of votes Reform got. Yeah, they fucking went in. Farage, DDS, Spect, Kia. Oh my God, he did, yeah. DDS, Spect, then banged out the Abbey Whip and just fucking finished him. Jimmy, what is that title? That title is a very fair title, I would say. So I have provocatively, of course, named this stream Reform deserved to win. Reform deserved it. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I'm being honest, right? As adults, we're adults, right? We're adults. We're not children. We're adults. We understand that in the adult world, shit doesn't work out how it should. It works out how it does. And politics is a game. It's like it's a complicated game of balances of power, and Reform winning really is a showcase that people are fucking tired of the establishment. And I hate Reform Party. I think their politics are awful. I don't even think they have politics. Their politics to me is kick out immigrants, which is not ideal. But what they are, right? This. I want to give you some little copium, right? My leftist brothers and sisters, and anything in or outside of that dynamic. I want to give you the rundown, right? How you should look at this. Bang, big scream, serious time. This is how you should look at it. Let's go through it, right? Rather than me going into some emotional spiel, let's look at actually how they did, because it's fucked. Okay, so Reform just won 496 local council seats, right? Liberal Democrats, 223, all right? Remember that. Don't forget about that. That's pretty important as well. This is what they're up. So Reform went from a party that didn't exist to now having 496 seats. That's fucked. That's so insane. GG's. It's not over. I'll explain why it's not fucking over. Conservatives absolutely decimated, not 466. It is very clear that something here has happened, right? That's what's happened. Conservatives have gone to Reform and now on 198. Independents, 64 seats. Bear in mind, if I'm any American viewers, etc., this is like our council elections. So these aren't, well, fundamentally, they are very important. But like in the British political consciousness, they're not very important. Like people don't really think about the council elections. Reform saw their opportunity to like make a mark here. This is, if anything, marketing for them. If they did well in the council elections, because people just don't really consider it, even though it really matters in your local area. Labour down 55 seats, down 129. This is the party in power, 55 seats. Greens up 27 seats, 51 seats. Okay? I want you to look at something here. Let's do some maths. Let's do some quick maths. Yeah, actually, it's not looking good here. But let's do some quick maths. 55 plus 51, 106 plus 223. 106 plus 223 is 329. So the right has won in this. But you got to bear in mind, Reform is not a traditionally right-wing party. Reform are a hodgepodge of populism that will appeal to some people who would otherwise vote left-wing and some conservative defectors. They're kind of like this is what I want to explain, right? This is why I don't see this as inherently a bad thing. And, I'm a real politic guy. I like to look at things through the lens of political strategy, right? I think that's where maybe how I've started to realise how I look at politics quite different to what a lot of people I see in the left or like just online look at politics as. I see stuff through the lens of political strategy. What can happen next because of the situation we're in? Why this is good for us on the left, like the actual left, people who are critical of capitalism and want a more social democratic world, a system that favors people over capital, right? If you're that type of people, this is good for us because this means that people have lost faith in the two-party system. The Reform vote is the anti-establishment vote. It's the vote against what we have, right? You got to bear in mind, people who vote are not switched into politics. They don't understand politics to any deep, a good percentage don't understand politics to some deep degree. They don't even understand the left and right dynamic. They don't understand anything really beyond like some slogans, right? But what you're getting is a general vibe of how people feel. So if people are happy with what's going on, they're going to vote for the big party, the party that's in power. If they're really unhappy with how things are going, they're going to just pick the other, the one that feels like the counter anti-establishment party, right? And that is what we are seeing here today. We are seeing the people have basically gone, fuck the establishment parties, because both establishment parties have done terrible. And the anti-establishment party, which they aren't anti-establishment, we can get into that more, but they present themselves as anti-establishment. They criticize the current status quo. They criticize just mainstream politicians. They try and present themselves as if they are something other than what we've had for forever. That is what that is. That is a good thing because in our country, it is basically a battle between these two forever. These two are the party of the elite, the wealthy, and arguably sort of the middle class. And these are also the party of the elite, the wealthy, and the middle class, but they like to sort of say, hey, we don't hate poors as much as the Conservatives do. Maybe we'll give them, I don't know, £5, a £3 meal deal every now and then. That's sort of the dynamic, right? And people have gone, I'm kind of fed up of both of these parties. Let's pick the one that's different. Now, obviously, Reform are shit. Like, they don't have, like, a coherent economic view. They don't have anything that's like, look, this is how we're going to do things differently. All they are saying that is fundamentally different is basically how they sort of position themselves as anti-EU. So they try and put all the blame onto the EU. That the EU was like this big monolithic unelected bureaucrats, blah, 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 blah. We need sovereignty. So they represent a feeling of sovereignty, which is a feeling of power. So we have power over ourselves to control our future. So that is different to what I guess the traditional conservatives, traditional Labour represented, which was globalism. So they're kind of anti-globalism. They're anti-migration, obviously. And that's like the other big one. So they say the big problem, every problem is tied to immigration. So every economic problem is tied to immigration. Every social problem is tied to immigration. Everything is immigration. So from the lens of just your average person who's going about their life and they're looking for change, the party that represents that is Reform. And they're even cleverly, I mean, this is what right-wingers are good at. I would say right-wingers are not creative. They're not visionaries. They don't tend to create. But they are very good at selling. The one thing they are good at is marketing and selling. And calling themselves Reform Party inherently leads into that image of reform and change, right? So it's all about change. So why this is good for us is that fundamentally, underneath all of it, there is a desire and appetite for change, right? And Reform, despite being really an establishment party, like they're pro-hierarchy, they're pro-ultra-wealthy, they're pro-big business, They represent themselves as like slightly anti-corporation, like slightly. They might have some critiques of some businesses some of the time. That's how they do it. It's how right-wingers try and win over that populist thing, because we as normal people, every day we're exploited by big businesses. You buy a product from some big company and it's shit, it doesn't work. You're on the phone, you're trying to get them to answer, like customer service. You're on there, you spend a day or 2 days trying to figure out some problem before you give up. And then you're like, this company is a piece of shit, I'm pissed off. Everyone understands that big corporate companies suck. You go and work for one, they treat you like shit, they pay you like shit, they could give less of a fuck about you. We all understand that to some degree. So reform will do soft punches against certain abusive businesses or whatever, but they will never question that power hierarchy. They say they're sort of liberals in a sense that they kind of think everything's down to individual decisions. So individual businesses, individual bosses are bad. You can see that with his response to... Sorry if I'm just yapping now, I'm not really paying attention to chat, I will. You can see it with his response when the water companies, he was asked, like, what would he do about the water companies, right? Let's like, show that clip, actually. It's maybe even useful. Farage Water Company. So someone asked him, like, what would you do about the water companies? Where is that? Where is that? Is like nationalize. Is it this one? He doesn't lead from the front. You fear those with our okay, I can't find it. But there is a clip of him basically being asked. There's a clip of Farage being asked, effectively, like, what would you do? Let me just thank the people who just put the chat in. Cheers, Edward Bailey. I really appreciate the donate. If we don't have Jimmy Giant as PM, we will riot. Big love, big love. Big up, Alexander Molyneux. It seems like Labour voters seem to gravitate towards these Green and Liberal Democrats rather than the Reform. Most of the seats were Tory. Yeah. Makes complete sense. Cheers for the dono. What was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought a little bit. Yeah. So, like, about the water supply. So Farage was asked, like, would you nationalise the water? And he said something. Actually, I know how I can find this clip because I replied to it on Instagram. He said something, I actually misheard it, and I made a comment, but I think people like the fundamental comment anyway, because it got like thousands of likes on... Yeah, there you go, I just found it. Okay, so this is a clip of Farage being asked, would you nationalise water? Right.
To nationalise the steel industry, or the steelworks in particular, would you nationalise water?
No, I would let the companies go bust. I cannot understand, if you've invested in Thames Water, you're a bondholder in Thames Water. As far as I'm concerned, you deserve to lose every single penny. Let them go bust and start again. And quite why governments think they have to come in and bail out failing companies is completely and utterly beyond me.
You want to
So this is like a very liberal perspective, right? So I actually misunderstood. I thought he said he wanted to nationalise, but he said he would let them go bust. He would let them fail. And I said, fuck's sake, this how shit is Labour that you are letting Farage clean up easy populist left talking points? Because what he does, this is like a very liberal mentality, right? It's not the fundamental fact that they're privatised that's the problem. This is how they see it, right? It's not the fact that it's privatised. It's not the fact of like neoliberalism that's the problem. It's the fact that this particular group of managers, they were just particularly bad, right? They're bad people. This is how liberals kind of see the world. Liberals and conservatives, they kind of see the world as individual actions, individual people making individual decisions rather than systems. They never look at things as systems. They look at things just like very, very narrowly. So he would see it like, yeah, fuck the water companies, right? And that's what we're feeling. When we get our water bill through the fucking... post box and we read it and it's gone up, and then we see record profits from water companies, and then we see they're pumping piss, shit and poo in our piss and shit is the same as poo, just letting you know that if you're unsure. They're pumping piss and poo in the fucking water, and we know that, and then we see Farage go, fuck them lot, let them go bust, right? That doesn't fix shit, because that's a pun by accident. That doesn't fix anything, because obviously the next lot will come in and do exactly the same thing, because the exact same mechanics that will cause that type of action will still occur. As long as the government will bail them out, they will do exactly what they're doing right now. He doesn't propose really anything. He does say maybe the government shouldn't bail them out, but then like think of that in reality. The reason why they bail them out is because if we just allow our water supply to completely collapse, will be without water. The binds that politicians are in is that we have gone down the route of privatizing our utilities, where we are renters as a government, as a people. We rent our water off of billionaires. We've given our water supply to billionaires, and we rent them, and we need water. So if we have no power in that dynamic, there is zero power that we have in that dynamic. We are indebted to them, so they can do what the fuck they want, right? So Farage saying just let them go bankrupt, so the whole country will be without water. It doesn't solve anything, but it, on a sort of populist emotional level, it makes people think, yeah, fuck them. And if you don't understand like that systemic problem there, the structural problem, then it will feel like, you know, at least it's something. And you then see Starmer like jumps on that, right? And this is the thing, right? At the moment is that Starmer basically just tries to be Farage. Like when Farage says jump, Starmer jumps. So like Starmer went and passed some law that means that you can now imprison a boss if he's exploitive or some shit in like the water supply company. That doesn't fix it. It doesn't fix it. I don't think to any meaningful way it'll really fix it. It's just the drain the swamp. Yeah, drain the swamp. It's the British version of drain the swamp. People don't understand. He is the fucking swamp, and that's it. It's like you can't drain the swamp, right? I was gonna make an analogy. You can't drain a swamp because it's still a swamp. I don't know how fucking swamps work. I'll be honest. I don't know if you could just drain the swamp and fix it. Fundamentally, I really hope this analogy is correct. But if it's a swamp, if it's a muddy mess, and you put water in it again, it will become a swamp again. I don't know. I did get an A in geography, but I don't remember doing anything on swamps. I don't know if that's how swamps work. But effectively, unless you have to get out of the swamp. You have to go to a proper place where you can get some proper water. I don't know if I'm stretching this fucking... I don't know if I'm stretching this analogy. Yeah, I'm doing a stream of consciousness right now, but I'm just getting it all out. That's why that will never work. You can't fix a broken system. You have to rebuild a system. And all that a Farage will ever offer is basically, look, the bad guys are in charge, and it's not the system's fault. It's just we got bad people in charge. We need to fix the people. We need to come in. And all you're going to get is a new guard of the exact same shit, because you can't fix that fundamental system with just new people. You have to have completely different... Like, our problem is a power dynamic problem. It's where the power is at in society. The power is in the hands of the ultra wealthy, so the government is going to build a society that favours them and benefits them. Because we have got poorer and poorer as people, we have lost power and we've lost any say or sway over the politicians. So yeah. The reason, just to tie that off, why I see this as a potentially good thing, is because it at least shows an appetite for a change, right? And all we have to do, and I say all, I'll put bold on all because it's a big fucking deal, is we need to offer a genuine, coherent leftist alternative. We have to offer like an actual thought out plan, tackle all the same things that he's talking about, but explain the real problem, the structural problem. And we need to have some charismatic people to fucking actually push that into politics. And I don't know if we need to go through the Greens, like if we look at how the Greens are done, shit, we got 1,000 people live. God damn. What's good, people? I should run a fucking advert. I'm joking. We got the Greens have gone up 27 seats, but nothing really considerable, really. I mean, it's good. Like, for the, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose that is good. They doubled themselves. So that is good. You have to be proportionate. Oh, 1 minute. I'm not sharing my fucking screen here. You have to look at things in context. So yeah, I suppose that is good. And it is also good. Like, Lib Dems, again, you have to think parties in politics are kind of symbols, right? So Lib Dems, you might hate what they stand for. You might hate, I fucking hate austerity. I don't think I've heard Ed Davies ever denounce austerity. But he does at least goes hard against Trump, right? So they've seen some improvement. He rallies against Trump, and he is at least slightly more left-wing than Labour. So there is an appetite, but he hasn't fully stepped into that position. He hasn't like fully embraced it. If we had a Bernie Sanders type figure right now, I think he'd fucking cook. Like, I think he would. And that's kind of what I wish Ed Davies just fucking had the balls to actually become a leftist and not be a fucking shill. He'll be forgotten. If Ed Davies has the actual like potential to actually do something right now, he could, but he's a pussy, he's a bitch, so he won't do it. Like, he's not willing to really step into that role. He could so easily do it. Everything's lined up. People know his name, which is hard in politics. People don't know the leader of the Green Party. There's 2 of them. Ed Davies, people know his name. He's quite a likable person, and he's a bit tough on like Trump, right? So he's doing some things, but he can't fucking say it. He can't say, look, we fucked up. Austerity was wrong. Lib Dems behind that, we take responsibility on that. It was completely wrong of us. We need to do a coalition with the Greens, and we need to push for a completely new system. If they did that, I really could see that Lib Dems could step into it. And like, I know a lot of people, No Justice MTG, she's very against the Lib Dems. And I think parties and people can change. I think they can. But they have to understand. Because politicians, at the end of the day, not many of them have really deeply held beliefs. A lot of them just... I mean, look at Starmer. Starmer's a perfect example. He floats like the fucking... I think at some point, if you listen to old clips of him, he sounds like a socialist. But now he's like, fuck, he sounds like a... He sound like if it was 5 years ago and you heard Starmer, the way he talks about immigration and stuff like that now, and like trans stuff, you would think he's a bit... Like, you would think he's a reform type person. You would. Because like the Overton window has shifted so quickly and so far that now what he's saying sort of sounds like, well, it's just how people talk now. But like, yeah. So anyway, Reform earned their victory. They did. They have successfully lied to the people. They've successfully presented an alternative. They've presented themselves as though they are changed. They're Reform. They're different. They're not. They're the same. They will do exactly the same shit, and they'll vest more power in the ultra powerful, like they will. But they presented themselves as a market. They have shown that we can break the two-party system, which is good, give them their credit, and they have shown they can do that on an anti-establishment message. Just be optimistic, right? Let's look at the facts on the ground as people on the left. That is a good opportunity. It shows that it can be done. They've given us a blueprint, right? It's given us a blueprint, and it's proof of concept that it can be done. We just now need to actually do it, right? We need to like step in and fill that role, and actually offer a genuine leftist alternative. We don't have it at the moment. The Greens are kind of doing something, but they haven't figured it out yet. And I'm not totally against the Greens. I haven't decided which horse to back. But yeah, we need to do something. And like, I think what politics is about, like, we need to activate people, right? It's not that we need to convert all the Reform people. I reckon there's a good chunk of that Reform lot that if they were given a leftist alternative, I do think they would vote for it. We need to activate the people who don't vote, because bear in mind how many people don't vote, right? And how many of them could be voting for a left-wing alternative. If you ever ask someone who doesn't vote why they don't vote, they go, because it's pointless. There's no reason to vote. They're all the same. They all do the same. That person could be a voter. That person could vote for change if actual change was given. So never see it like, oh, look, we've just shifted massively to the right. The whole country's right. It's not. It's like the people who would vote for a left-wing alternative are not given a great option. They're not feeling motivated. They don't feel like they've actually got a chance. So they're just not showing up. That's like largely it. It is pointless. It's pointless if you believe it's pointless. But, you know, like, the post-war consensus was achieved by people. And, like, as much as I'm a systemic, structural type person, at the end of the day, you can't get those systems and structures to change unless you affect the minds of the people and you get people to believe in something. It's the one time where there is some element of individual responsibility in it. It's that you have to wake people up and you have to... But I don't blame people because we haven't delivered that alternative yet. The Greens are trying. They have started on that route of an actual leftist alternative. And they've doubled their vote share, so that's pretty good. But a lot more needs fucking doing, goddamn. Sorry, I've just been on a stream of consciousness right there, lads. So forgive me for indulging myself. But I just want to get it out. Why I think there is something good from Reform winning. And we shouldn't be always look at stuff from a this is how you stay sane in politics. Look at stuff from a strategical point of view. Always look at stuff from a strategical point of view. Like, I'm making a video probably on the EU and like Brexit and stuff at the moment. And if you think about it, Brexit was really pushed by, I would say, like, I would argue Russia. We're a big player in it. I would argue lots of like anti-establishment, you know, like Farage types, etc. But I wouldn't say, right, if you think about it, I wouldn't say America really had a great deal. I mean, you could argue Trump to a degree, but I don't know how involved America was with Brexit. I don't think they were for Brexit. I don't know. They didn't really present themselves as like having an opinion on it. But if you think about it, J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, probably Steve Bannon, probably Trump to a degree, they've seen the opportunity, right, to become like anti-EU, because they didn't plan it in the beginning. They just looked, this is how you play politics. They looked at the playing field and they saw, a weak and divided EU is actually really good for us. Especially if we're trying to build this sort of like big tech oligarchy. The EU always fuck with big tech. Like they always put regulations, rules, and they make it harder for big tech. So what would you do, right? You wouldn't say that probably America pushed Brexit. If anything, Russia helped push Brexit. But like America were pretty neutral, I would say. I don't know, maybe, but they weren't like a loud voice. But now they're looking at the playing field. They see this anti-EU stuff, and they're sort of going, well, this is actually really good for us. Let's push the anti-EU stuff, because if the EU is weak, then their regulatory powers are weak over us as like a big tech oligarchy. So what you have to do, why I say that, is you have to look at politics as a game, as a strategy, and be like, okay, what's the play right now? So I want you to come away from this council thing and be like, look, the play is that an anti-establishment voice has won, and the mainstream parties have died, and it showed that there is a desire for change. Remember that. And you just have to sell the better product, right? The market is asking for a better product, and you have to come and sell that, right? The appetite is there now. That's great. That's really good for us. But now it's our job to fucking develop that product. We need to get the people, the policies, and we need to actually present something different. Jimmy, I joined the Green Party, never been a member of Party before. Nice. Yeah, I'm thinking more about the Green Party. To be honest, I want to chat with Gary a bit more about what he thinks. Like, his thing is to try and shift the Labour Party, try and shift all parties, talk about inequality. But I would like to think coherently about like an actual game plan with him. And I don't know if that's what he wants to go into. He might just, because he always mentions like Murdoch. He's like, I would rather just have power like Murdoch does and push the parties in a direction. I think, but someone has to do that ground game, like politically, like get the people and do the rallies, do the, like if we had an oligarchy tour here in Britain, something like that would be good. So yeah, dude, can you leave the VODs up to watch later? I suppose I don't tend to do that, but maybe I can. Maybe this time I can. I'll just see how it does for views. I don't know if it negatively affects the channel or something, having like, because it'll be a lower viewed video because it's like a stream. But maybe I will, yeah. I'm from Scotland and didn't read into the election. What were you voting for? And it was a council election, yeah. We're still arguing about 30, 40, 30s, I don't know what that is. Do you think that if Jeremy Corbyn made a party as well as other far left politicians like George Galloway, I can't see Jeremy Corbyn and George Galloway working together. I would say Corbyn, like, I don't know if Corbyn's all the way there. Like, he was a sign. Again, look at politics like a game. Corbyn was like another sign for that appetite, right? There was a moment and it didn't work out, and we can talk about why. One second, I'll change. Put a light on. Yeah, oh God, that's better, isn't it? We can talk about why, but Corbyn didn't win. It's kind of a bit more complicated than it just wasn't the appetite for it. The whole media machine worked against him. But I don't see, right? Corbyn hasn't come out and, lost and come back swinging. If you look at Bernie, he's been beaten down so many times, but he doesn't stop fucking fighting. He's a real solid activist and politician. I know he bitched out with, like, the Democrats a few times and stuff, but Murdoch basically made Brexit happen. I would say it was a large part of it, yeah. Thank you for the dono as well. Somewhat hinged. It's a good name. Yeah, so Corbyn, I don't know. Corbyn hasn't got like the fighty sort of talk. I would see he could be part of the, he was like a good sign that literally, if you think about it, Corbyn wasn't that charismatic. He was kind of likable, like a nice guy. But he wasn't like super charismatic. He wasn't like aggressive. But he literally just ran on like a populist left message, and it was popular. He got more votes than Starmer. But you still have to remember that more people were activated. Remember, politics is about activating voters, people who can't be able to come out and vote. So, yeah, Corbyn, I don't even align with him on like foreign policy at all. I don't. But he showed that there was an appetite for proper leftist politics in this country, enough to get more votes than Starmer. So he shows that there's an appetite. Now you need someone to step into those boots who is a bit more charismatic and a bit more leadership, like a bit more, how would you say it? A bit more leadership. That doesn't make sense. Has a bit more, I don't know, whatever the fuck the word I'm looking for is. Like a Gary or like a Mick Lynch, like Ed Dempsey seems pretty tough as well. I quite like him. That's what we need. We need something like, or like, yeah, if we had a fucking Bernie, like Bernie's an actual fighter. Like Corbyn is, I would say, softer. And that's fine. He can be part of it, but I don't think he can run it. Bit more of a leader. Yeah, goddamn. My brain's just off on one, boys. So yeah, charismatic leader. That's what we need. And like Gary can feel that. I don't think he wants to necessarily, or maybe he will. I think maybe he's been a bit coy about it. Gary can do that. I still think there can be even other voices that are like very good, like rallying voices, you know. So I think that's kind of how we have to go about it. We need to like I really like Mick Lynch. Which party do you now endorse, Jimmy? To be honest, right at this very moment, probably Greens. But I don't see. Yeah, Rory Stewart is actually, yeah, he sometimes sort of actually doesn't sound insane sometimes. I quite like that Rory. Whenever someone says Rory Stewart, I always think of Rory Sutherland. Why not Lib Dems? Well, Lib Dems aren't left. They're not really leftists. They don't talk anything about taxing rich people. I'm fundamentally going to vote for the party that talks about taxing rich people because I really genuinely think that's the big problem. Like, I'm super pro, like, really, like, the way I see the game has to be played is rebuilding the EU. The EU, like, the state we're in this moment where very, very, very powerful, wealthy people who have very nefarious desires for the world are gaining immense power and control over the whole planet. And that's happening in Russia, that's happening in America, that's happening here, it's happening in China. And the working people are losing their power, like, drastically. The EU, despite its flaws, at least has some semblance of, like, wanting to fight against that. So, do you hear America trying to ever regulate Amazon? Do they do anything like that? Do they do any big state-led initiatives? No. EU does. EU made fucking... If you think about it, EU made, like... They funded this thing called CERN. Like, if you think about the power, the ability of the EU, and I'm not saying it's perfect now, but if you think about... I think CERN, EU funded. So, EU invests... Yeah, that's it. Invest in CERN. So, in Switzerland... Was it in Switzerland? How come the EU invests in it? Now think about it. Wherever the fuck. It is in Switzerland though, eh? But Switzerland's not in the EU. Oh, okay. It's Switzerland, but then we were involved in it as well. They made this fucking massive underground thing. Look at this fucking thing. The EU was able... It's how gangster the EU actually is, if you think about it. They made this. It's like this massive tube underground where they fucking ding off like fucking, I don't know, science shit at each other. Bow, 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 like atoms and that. And they discover some mad shit. It's fucking mad. The EU has done that. It's also starting to build, what's that thing called? The thing to counter Starlink. EU Starlink. It's got a shit name. Starlink's a good name, to be honest. What is it called? Iris 2. Actually, Iris 2 is not bad. It's kind of a cool name. So they're building like a Starlink alternative, right? So the EU has the ability to like do things on a mass scale that is incredibly impressive. If you think like how China are doing so well right now is because they have a very powerful state that can work with the businesses in the country and do these massive, major, incredible projects. They haven't got the same level of bureaucracy within corporatist structures that like America have. The EU has some semblance of that ability to do these big, like wide initiatives. So we need to basically rebuild our relationships with the EU. So they're not perfect, but they have like the ability and some desire. If we look at like, I don't know, EU Amazon regulations, I haven't been successful with it. EU likely to face investigation under EU tech laws. So the EU actually goes after Amazon. Now, from my understanding, Amazon have lobbied very hard to try and stop all this shit, but at least they're trying. They have some strength and some power to do it. A broken Europe can't battle these big tech powers. They can't. Because the reason you have to work together is there's power in numbers, right? So the EU as a whole market, is infinitely valuable. So like just having that market that you can shut people out if you want to means that companies have to concede some power to you. They can't just fucking do whatever the fuck they want, because they have to they want to access your market. So Amazon, not Amazon, like Apple, all these companies that went to China to set up in China, they had to concede some power to China. They had to say to China, the deal was, look, you can come to China, we have a massive market that you can sell into, but you have to let us do some tech sharing. So you have to give us some of your information around like your technology, how you do it, how you created the information to, fucking science and blah, 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 blah. They said you need it if you want to sell into our market. The EU has that exact same strength. We have a very wealthy market. We're a very desirable market because we have lots of people who are sort of wealthier, like middle class. Market like in India, they don't have that same thing. So it's a wealthy market. So that means companies want to sell into us, into the EU, and they have to concede some power. So they can't, if we're all broken into different states, then Amazon can come into France and say, hey, France, we want to do this. France might say no, but then what if every other country around them do it? Because they do a really enticing offer. And then France goes, well, we're going to have to fucking do it because like we're now losing out to everyone. When you work as a big unit, you can start demanding stuff against these big tech powers. So I really believe like an actual leftist alternative needs to work with the EU. Like the EU can potentially have the power to fight against these oligarchical powers. If you think we're the most, in the current circumstance, we're the most powerful, like actual sort of leftist bloc in the world. You got Russia, you got China, and I know you could argue China does the state initiatives, but it's not very like socially liberal. It isn't about people's individual freedoms, etc. The EU actually presents like, we have a lot of welfare states. We have a lot of universal education, universal healthcare. The EU can actually fight. That is why they are desperately trying to break the EU. That is why, because they see the EU's actual power. That's why they try and make the EU look pathetic. That's why they try and make it look weak. That's why they try and make people disillusioned with it, because the actual power that it holds of a wide, wealthy, middle-class society with high standards of workers' rights, high standards of education, healthcare, that is incredibly powerful. The dynamic they want is very rich and very poor, because when you have very rich and very poor, those poor people can't do fucking shit. But when you have that strong middle and a healthy, educated populace, that's when you're strong. And so effectively, that's what we need to like move towards, is working on our leftist movement here and then teaming up with the EU to try and like, because why I say this, right? If we're trying to do a tax the rich type shit, I'll be honest, it's going to be tough as just Britain. If we start doing wealth taxes, it will be tough. Like, it will be, because they can go to alternatives. If all of Europe goes, you are not selling into our market unless you pay fair taxes in the country, then that now says something, right? If Amazon gets barred from all of Europe unless they're going to pay their fair share of taxes, that's something, right? That now is like, they have to think about that. If Britain says, right, fuck Amazon could just take it as the L. They could just take the L, because it would signal to other nations, don't do that shit, we'll pull out completely and you'll get no penny from us. So like, in reality, that's how it needs to play. Has to be a global movement. Yeah. Greetings from Romania. Big up. Defo link up with Navarra. I'm just going to say, keep your eye out on Navarra. Summit is coming very soon. I don't know when, but very soon. So vote to rejoin. Yeah, we have to. We have to rejoin. I know it sucks because the people voted against it, but I think we have to rejoin. This is the thing about the fucking Brexit referendum, man. That should have never been... Something as politically complicated as that should never have been a fucking referendum. The reason we vote for politicians is because they have to have an understanding and knowledge on political structures. They spend their lives learning about this stuff, and they have to try and do what's right, and we have to vote for the ones that do what's right. Brexit is such a complicated thing. It was not we are not, as a populace, informed to understand the pros and cons of it. We were sold it was going to fucking give our NHS more money. We were sold that it was going to end immigration. We were sold it was going to make us more sovereign. It like didn't do any of that shit, right? We was talking points over some deeply complicated power dynamic around the whole world. And we thought that a referendum could decide that. No, your referendum is voting for your MP. That's it. That's how politics works. You can't vote on fucking every single thing. Like, why are we not asking for a referendum on every decision in government? If we believe that we can have a referendum on Brexit, you don't do it because that's insanity. That's not a functioning government. At that point, your government's failed. When you come to a referendum, that kind of means your government has failed you. So you can't do that. So I would just say, look, lads, I'll be honest. Brexit has fucking failed. It was stupid at the beginning. It's stupid now. I understand why people voted for it because they thought it'd bring change. It didn't bring change. We have to accept that sometimes we're wrong. And sometimes we do the wrong thing. And we have to sometimes readdress, when we have new information, we have to readdress what's in front of us. And not just... The problem with Britain is we're so ideological about fucking everything. About everything. No one can ever admit... Like, if you think about it... I'm just going to... Finn Hack, $5. Thank you so much. Australian Labour is fighting for this tax reform while also pushing unions at every stage. Also, please check out Friendly Geordie. I do like Friendly Geordie. I haven't watched him in a long time, though. Maybe I should check him out. Thank you so much for the dono. What was I going to say? What was I just yapping about? Suka blät. Ja nie знаю. What was I saying, bruv? So fucking ADHD sometimes. Ideology. Yeah. Britain is so trapped in ideology, right? We have these, and America's like more so, but we are the same. Right, so let's look at it like this. So Thatcher comes in and says, the free market, shrink the state, privatize, right? Thatcher may have... Okay, so if we look at China... Deng Xiaoping comes in after, is it Mao? I assume it was Mao. It opens up China to the Western world, brings in trade, right? Deng Xiaoping was probably right to do that, right? Because their market was too restricted. It's too restricted, and they had like basically blocked themselves off to the Western world. So they brought in foreign trade. They brought in some free trade. Did they then go, right, oh good, we brought in foreign trade. Now let's privatize fucking everything. Let's shrink the state. Let's fucking privatize the rail, the water, the energy. Did they? No, they didn't do that because they're probably ideological in their own way, but they didn't go deep into what the ideology, right? So we went, okay, privatize, right? Privatize, free market, free up allow businesses to do what they want. There was probably some kernels of truth in there. There was probably some need to do that, right? Our reliance on coal in that era was probably right that we needed to change our energy policy, right? We probably did need to move towards oil. We did need to probably change our energy. What we did, we went, fuck coal, fuck the miners, and fuck unions. We didn't go, look, lads, coal right now probably isn't the play. Probably we need to try and move towards oil or something like that. We didn't do that. We went, no, fuck you guys, fuck the unions, fuck everything. Break the unions' power. Like, it was insane. Our decision was insane. It was such an overcorrection. It was such a deep overcorrection. So what do we do, right? Trey Campbell, £5. Thank you so much. My friend said reform are right and told me so much propaganda. Privatising the NHS will make things worse. He said they won't. Yeah, they love all that. It's insane. It's insane. Privatising the NHS is insane. But this is what they do. They make everything shit. So then you look at privatising because you're like, well, this ain't working. And they don't know why it ain't working because it's basically half privatised anyway. And those private companies are ripping us off. What was it? Okay. Let me I keep losing my train of thought because I'm on one today, I think. So, what was I fucking saying, bro? Ideology. So, okay, we went down the thing. Thatcher, right? Thatcher came along, privatise. Swept the whole of Europe. Loads of countries did that, right? Loads of countries did it. Australia, right? They had the same wave, right? It was called Rogernomics, which is so funny. Like, we called it Thatcherism. American call it Reaganomics. And they call it Rogernomics, which is just so Aussie. I love that. Anyway, so Roger, I don't know what his full name was. Some geezer called Roger comes in. I haven't even drunk coffee. Actually, no, yeah, I've had 2 coffees. And I've got a new fucking coffee as well. And it is hard. It's from my local Milk and Beans. Shout them out. They They made this thing. It's called Out of This World. It's very expensive, but very nice coffee. And I just made a little latte. So yeah, I'm probably a bit buzzed, but whatever. It's good content. So Roger comes in. He does the privatise thing. Privatise. Right? Australia start having problems with their rail, I believe. You know, you can fact check me on this. So Australia have problems with the rail, and they go, right, and I think a few other things which they'd privatise, and they go, probably the privatised thing didn't work here. Let's renationalise and let's run it how we used to. That's how Australia went. Right? They were being fucking adults. They changed their mind. They realised with new information, with like change of circumstances, and seeing the results of your decisions, they went, we were wrong. Let's change that. Britain, we have not done that at all. It's been so obvious for a very long time that many of our privatized industries have absolutely fucking failed. And yet we are so ideologically captured in this idea that the state does everything badly and private companies do everything better. And we can never go back on that. We can never change. And even when we try to renationalize things, we never do it properly. So if you do half measures on anything, you're going to get a bad return on it. If you half renationalize the rail by renationalizing the rail but not the rolling stock, you ain't going to fix it because the fucking problem is the privatization there. So yeah, a lot of countries right around the world, when they went down the same free market neoliberal stuff, and a lot of them are still in that, but they realised when things failed that probably it doesn't work how we thought it did, we'll change it. But Britain is so deeply ideologically captured. We are like zombies around privatisation. And even though if you actually poll the general populace, they're against it, they want to renationalise a lot of things, we just have this insanity that controls us in the political sphere. So that's like, yeah, that's how. Oh man, I'm just trying to fix this wire because it kind of looks open. That's like a big problem. I'm not going to stop swearing. If you watch my channel and you even think saying stop swearing is possibly a thing I'll do, then I don't think you've ever watched a video of mine. Ideologically entrenched. Yeah, we are, man. We are so ideologically captured in this country. We're so proud. One of the big problems in Britain, right? And I'm like a patriotic person. I love this country. I love our history. I love it. I'll put asterisks there. I love certain parts of our history. I love certain cultural remnants of it. Obviously, I can critique many parts, and obviously there's lots of wrong things. But I love being British, and I think our story is complicated, and I think we have a story within our story of our history. So you hear about empire, you hear about slavery, you hear about industrial era, but people don't talk about the abolition of slavery. They don't talk about the workers uniting, the people who had no power, the workers working in those like coal mines, working in those factories, working in those shipbuilding yards. They had nothing. They were worked to death, and somehow they united and created a alternative. They created the post-war consensus. That is incredible. The suffragettes, the civil rights movements. Throughout our history, there's always been a counter history of people fighting against the evil shit, and they've been successful. So I'm very proud of that. But the problem is with the British attitude is because we were once like the fucking empire. We cannot understand in our psyche. We cannot understand that we are no longer that. We are literally a poor country. The prestige that we have is gone. It's like you're a one-hit wonder. Like you're fucking, I don't know, you're Aaron Carter or something. Actually, rest in peace. That was maybe not the best example. But you're like some old celebrity, and you then go walk out on a stage and think that you're going to get the same applause that you got back in the 2000s. You're not. It's over. Things have changed. Doesn't mean you can never be great again, but it's changed. In our country, we're so dialed into this exceptionalism that Britain is better and bigger and more important than everyone. Every other nation will say that about us, by the way. If you go travel anywhere and really ask what's your opinion of British people, they will all talk about British exceptionalism. They all think that British people think they're better than everyone. And that as well affects our political voting, because it means that it's basically the reason behind Brexit. We were so confident that because we were once the empire, we can now be strong again. We're not. The game has changed. It's not the same. We're not that anymore. We've lost that position. And a real board game player, a real strategic person, loses, right? So they were winning for a period of time, and then they fall back, right? There were 11 victory points in a game of Catan. They were about to win. Everyone else was at 6, and they were so easy. They were feeling so smug, and then everyone worked together and overthrew them. And now they're on 7 victory points. Everyone else is on 11. A real board game player looks at himself on 7 victory points and realizes, I can still win this, right? What Britain has done is they've deluded themselves to think that now we're on 7 victory points. Actually, we're still on 11 victory points, and actually everyone else is still on 7. And actually, we don't need to do anything different. That's kind of how Britain sees itself now, because we haven't realized that the game has changed. We're not where we used to be. And we need to accept that. And we can still do very well. We could make a country that rivals Scandinavian nations on living standards. We have the ability to do that. But we have to accept where we are, and we have to accept that this is a journey forward now. This isn't us sitting on our laurels. Is that the expression? We have to move from here, and we can do it, but the people have to understand that that's where we're at. Everyone knows you have to take Australasia in risk for a long game. Yeah. My favourite part of your arrogance is that we'd totally take you out by medium-sized tsunami. Yeah. But your tsunamis ain't hitting us, bruv. Sorry, it's the empire in me that can't get over that. There's so much potential. Yeah, Britain's got massive potential. Another potential we have, right? Big potential that Britain has, really, really big, is for renewable energy. The one good thing, right? Every bad scenario, there is a good thing that comes from it, right? Our weather fucking sucks. It's all we ever talk about is our weather. However, our weather means that we will never run out of energy. If we switch to renewable energies, if we utilized our shit weather, we could make the most insane green infrastructure. We could completely fucking run that shit. We're like so well. And why do you think they're all anti-net zero now? Why do you think that is? Why is it reform conservatives are anti-green energy? Because they're fucking paid off by billionaires who own the oil industry, and they want you to be against anything that could challenge their power. That's it. That is it. That's all it is. Like, because they know, they don't give a shit about Britain. They don't give a shit about us being wealthy, you being wealthy, and you having a good living standard that we could work together. They don't give a fuck about that. They literally don't give a single shit about that. All they care about is their donors. And their donors want you to think that climate change is made up so that they can keep pumping oil, gas, destroying the planet, and also staying rich. Most importantly, staying rich. That's all they fucking care about. All they care about. So now they're anti-net zero. Why? Because we have an alternative. We actually can have an alternative to their power right now. We could rival them. We could then build this infrastructure. The state could own it, and we could invest its profits either back into itself or into a sovereign wealth fund. We could make something. This is an opportunity right here, right? There's a massive opportunity that renewables present to Britain specifically. But they do not, like, it's like when, you see these countries that are like mineral rich, but they can't, they get fucked with by America, and they get fucked with by like Russia, and they get fucked with by everyone. The reason they fuck with them so hard is because if they were able to actually gain sovereignty over their own energy, or be able to sell their thing and use it properly, their mineral, they would have some power against these bigger nations. They'd be able to demand more. That's why they're doing it to us with our green infrastructure. We could so easily absolutely kill it on green energy. Are you pro-nuclear? I'd need to look into it more. I seem to think I am a little bit, but I have heard some arguments against it. But yeah. Yeah, I never understood why Colombia isn't a superpower. They have something in caffeine. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, it's probably, and I don't know the history of Colombia, but I would absolutely imagine that America's been involved in making sure they don't get a coherent government. I'm sure. I don't know that for a fact, but I've seen so many instances where America have done that historically, where they see nations that are trying to build something, some sovereignty, and America will come in and fuck it up. They do it every time. That's what they do. Scotland is probably the best part of the UK right now. Yeah, they do. To be honest, Scotland moving in the right direction. Are you going to debate Steve Laws? Yeah, I am. I'm going to talk to Daniel Priestley first, and then Steve Laws. Obviously, Steve Laws is like an ethno-nationalist. So I need to like present that debate in the right way, because to me, like, it's incredibly dangerous ideology. So I need to make sure I handle it in the right way. But I'm really looking forward to talking to him. I think it'll be enlightening to see the extremities of right-wing thought and kind of where it ends up. Because I kind of see, like, I see him as an inevitability. I see, like, his insane political views is, like, where right-wing thought goes. Because right-wing thought will never actually fix anything. It can't. It fundamentally can't. So it just keeps getting more radicalized because it has to. Because they go, well, we got rid of all the Muslims, and I mean, still everything's shit because obviously the power structure is exactly the same. So who do we get rid of next? And eventually it comes down to where like Steve Laws is at. So yeah, UK election was last year. This is like a council election. Kanzuk. I'll be totally honest. I don't know enough about Kanzuk. I really don't. What can someone just give me like the elevator pitch as to what they're like? What are they proposing? We got good viewership right now, so I feel like if I start reacting to videos, it'll probably drop off a bit. So maybe I won't watch a video on it. But if someone can give me a real overview of what the plan is, but I feel like it seems alright. Like Canada probably are more aligned with us than obviously America. Do you not have any mods? No, I don't. I probably should. Probably should get mods. I am like a very unprofessional YouTuber, even though I do it professionally. Keep the discussion going, enjoy it, not alone yet. Will you ever run for PM? Nah, I couldn't. I'll be honest. I couldn't go into like Parliament every day. Just couldn't do that as a job. It's not fun for me. I could involve myself in like campaigning. I could involve myself in like creating films, creating like media, but I couldn't fucking go into that office, man. I'm not an office bro. I'm just not. I've done everything in my power to not work an office job. Couple of beers tonight, Jim. You know what? It's Friday. Maybe. I didn't think about it, but maybe. So much shit to do. Would you ever work with Led by Donkeys? Yeah, I would, yeah. Farage does seem pretty fascist. I wouldn't say he seems that fascist, like compared to say a Trump or something. But you know that politics will end up there because, again, right-wing populism will never solve anything. It can't solve anything because it can't fix the fucking power imbalance, and that's the problem. So, I don't think they are. I think where it goes is fascistic. I think it always will end up there because it will never fix problems. So you have to get more radical because they go, well, like, listen, why did Brexit fail? This is, if you ask Farage, we would say because there was an elite, powerful group within the establishment that desired it to fail. So then you go, okay, well, what do we do about that elite, powerful group? You have to purge them. You know, you have to lock them up. Or you vote them out, right? So first, you have to vote them out. And then they get power again. Because eventually people forget and blah, blah, blah. They come back. And then what happens after that? Now you have to try and arrest them. Like, why did Trump not arrest all of his political opponents in his first term? Because he didn't have the right-wing rabbit hole hadn't gone that far. Why does he now talk about going after his political opponents? Like, that's why Biden had to fucking, what do they call it in America? Pardon all of his family, because if he didn't, they would have probably all went to jail because Donald Trump probably would have went after him. And that's the thing. It has to keeps getting more extreme because they will never solve it. It's like I don't know. I was trying to think of a good analogy. It's like you're playing tennis. Like you go to play tennis and you go there with a table tennis racket and you play and you play and you play and you go, why the fuck? Why do I lose all the time? And you go, well, maybe I need to go against a different opponent. So let's change the opponent. Okay, fuck. Why? Maybe we need to make the court smaller. Okay, it doesn't work. And maybe you need to change the ball and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You never realize it's because you're holding a fucking table tennis paddle. That's your problem. The game's fucked. You've got a fundamental problem. So that's where right-wing thought goes. Why it gets more radical is because it can never solve it on its own terms because it's fundamentally operating on a faulty premise. That is neoliberalism. That is privatization. Powerful, wealthy people are going to work hard and raise the living standard for everyone. It's a faulty premise. It doesn't work. Jimmy not done it yet, so time to rattle Latin Cup for him to consider the join or Patreon. Oh yeah. Thank you, Edward. I really appreciate that, man. Yeah, you lot. If you want to help support the channel, support what I'm doing, I'm like basically trying to build out a team a bit more now. And we have been getting there. I've got 2 editors on now, and they're doing a really good job. So if you do support me on Patreon, I appreciate Edward for reminding me. Yeah, you can go do that. I also put up some like content that's just for Patreon, like I talk about political strategy and stuff on there a little bit, and yeah, some other stuff. Anyway, yeah, I appreciate that, Edward. Conversely, a left-wing position on resolving societal ills by forcibly acquiring others' wealth can likewise go to extreme. Of course it can go to extreme if you don't fix the problem. So yeah, if like you don't fundamentally, if like that's what communism is, right? And I guess it can go way too far. It can go too far. But I don't think you're going to go too far until people's living standards are raised, right? Where you start seeing radicalization, it's where expectations. I forget when I did the Navarra podcast, Ash said this thing, and I should remember it. But it's like there's a graph where it's like expectations meeting reality or something like that, where a person's expectations of what they deserve in life doesn't meet where you expect it to. That's where you get radicalization take place, because if you expect a certain living standard and you don't get it, this is why, like, I would say I can tell just on an anecdotal level that a lot of people like me are getting more and more, like, really turned off of capitalism because we've been lied to. Like, me and my generation have been lied to. The amount of highly educated, high-skilled, and, like, professional people I know who don't own a house, who are often running out of money, who rent, who can't afford all their bills, or at least it's just tight and uncomfortable. The amount of us that exist now who earn decent money, but still life is too expensive. The amount of us that are like, yeah, the game is fucked. Like, we did what they told us to do, right? No one can argue to me or my friends to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. You go and fucking make a YouTube channel. You go and become a director in a big marketing firm. You go and become a freelance illustrator, like one of the best in the industry, and you do that, and then you live off the wage you get, which is good money in this country, and you're still not living like how your parents were, and your parents were like carpet fitters or worked in a school or something. We're still not living how our parents did, bruv. That's why my generation are a dangerous generation, because you fucked with us. We were fucked with. Like, we were told to work hard, to invest our, like, you know, save our money and build up our skills, go and earn stuff. And we did that. A lot of us did that, and we didn't get what we were told we'd get. We didn't even get the bare minimum. We didn't get, I am so lucky that I've got an apartment. Like, I bought a mortgage, thanks to you guys. But it's a small apartment, and it's not luxurious. It's like nice, I like it, but it's not luxurious. For what I've achieved and the amount I've worked, I should get more for that. And that's where you are going to lose. Like, this middle class is now this younger middle class is becoming dangerous politically, because we were not given a fair fucking deal. We work longer, harder hours. All of us are busy all of the time. All of us are stressed. None of us have enough free time to hang out with each other. And we did everything you told us to. We all went. I didn't get an education because I'm a fucking, hustler. But all my mates went and got educations, got good jobs, and we didn't get what we were given, or we were told we'd get. We didn't get half of it. So, yeah, that's why our generation is dangerous. Like, we really, we are seeing this. So I reckon, and I don't know, this is all speculative, but I reckon my generation are going to become much more left-wing. Like, the sort of, I'm 30 now. I think something around 27 to like 35, 40, whatever that era is, they're going to be much more left-wing. I think you're going to see some movements to the right for the younger generation, the young lads. I think you're going to see that, because they don't want to go into their lives thinking that the whole world is fucked and the whole system is stacked against them. They want to believe that if they work hard, they can make something of themselves. So they're going to vote for the parties, or at least agree with the politics of the people that say that message. But then when they hit 30, I can't imagine, they're going to go insane, because they're going to have worked. Those like kids who are going to the gym all the time, getting educated, setting up their side hustles, like those hustle bros, they go and do that until they're 30. They work harder than anyone in their bloodline has ever worked. And they're sat there in their shitty 1-bedroom apartment that they're paying all their money on, that's going to be a dangerous generation. Because they were lied to. They were lied to. So, since your channel often highlights the bad of society in our country, I was wondering what you think of the ideal system and solution. I just believe in, like, sort of state power. Like, I believe the thing, when you even say the word state, you have to bear in mind we've all been conditioned through years of cultural propaganda around what even that word means. The state is an elected, democratically elected representatives of the people who vote for him, right? The state is us. We have some say over the state, right? The state is the public. That's why the phrase public is probably better than state. I believe the public space has to be... I have to say the state. Sorry, I tried. The state is going to have to be more powerful. It needs more wealth. Because the reason we get taxed so heavy, and the reason that we, you know, say like parking tickets, parking fines, business rates, all that stuff, the reason why they're so extortionate is because we've sold all of our wealth as a state. We've sold all of our social housing stock, all of those assets. We've sold all of our fucking industries, like airplanes, the fucking energy, the fucking rail, the mail, everything you could think of that was once British owned. We sold it to private investors. The state has no wealth. The state is broke. And so they have to penalise you in order to get some money to give you some of the basics of what a social democracy is meant to give you. So I believe we need to rebuild state wealth. We need to either... And there's many ways you could do this, and this is where I'd be open to an actual conversation. This is where we need to shift the political discourse over to the left so we can talk about how we do these things. So I would personally be quite an advocate for the green energy thing. I think that would be sort of like what Norway did with oil, and they used that to make their welfare state. We could do the same green energy. I would say we need to renationalise the rail. And I think we really need to do something serious about housing. That's a discussion that smarter people than me are going to have. But we have to do something where we can't be getting ripped off on rent like the way we are. It's insane. If this is what I'm talking about, we are so ideologically captured that we have basically written off any chance of saying that perhaps, like, think about it. Imagine I said the phrase, the social housing needs to leave the private sector. We can't have a private housing sector, or at least it has to be decimated. You couldn't do that in Britain. That's insane. You couldn't even come close to saying it. But really think about it. Obviously, that's obviously what we need to do. Like, obviously, like, logically, like, that's what I'm saying. We're ideologically captured. Like, we can't even have that conversation around housing because we do not believe that there's any way that you're allowed to affect the free market of housing, even though the free market of housing has absolutely completely failed us. Like, paying 40-50% of your wage on housing is a failed society. That's a failed society. That's 40-50% of your money that goes housing, rent. That's money you're not spending in the community. That's money that you're not saving. That's money that you're not investing into yourself. That's money that you're giving to a landlord. And he's doing what he's doing with it, but it's probably not as useful as if you were to be spending that in the community. It's insane. So we need to talk about how we're going to do it. But, like, that's the problem where we're at politically, is that you couldn't even have that conversation in this country. It's not, you would be called a communist in 2 seconds. And that would somehow write it off. That'd be like, well, communist. Done. Doesn't matter if what I'm saying is right. It doesn't matter if obviously it's true. It doesn't matter if you look at Singapore and you look at their housing policy and you go, well, it seems to fucking work. Or if you go back to us after the war and we built the social housing and you go, seemed to work, didn't it? And then you go, look at us right now. Does that work? Are we saying that this works? Is this better than Singapore, or is this better than the post-war period? Obviously not. Obviously not. But we can't even have that conversation in this country. So I believe, like, you know, someone just said, just make a state-owned building company take 20% of the big five. I would say you need to have a state that takes some percentages in some of our big industries. Just some. Not all of them. No one talks about Singapore in the sense that no one talks about their housing policy. The state owns all of the land. And 80 to 90% of people live in social housing. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. They use cheap labor to build that shit, which is fucked. But that doesn't mean you have to do it that way. You don't have to do it that way. Yeah, it's because it might crash the market, or rather people don't want to see their houses lose value. But yeah, that's it. That's the fundamental thing. Like, so you remember when I was talking about, I did it in that video, I talked about the pool loungers, and I was talking about how generations can undo social democracy. It's because effectively what happens is when you sell it all off, there will be winners from that, right? There'll be winners from that, and you've made a culture of individuality where you value yourself, your immediate surroundings over the good of the people, which would actually in turn be better for you. That's my pool lounger analogy, where I said that if we all shared the pool loungers, everyone would have a pool lounger and it would be better for you. You wouldn't have to stress out about the pool loungers. But because one person decides that they're going to hog all the pool loungers, that's when everyone starts panicking and starts acting in an individualistic way, right? That's what I meant by that analogy. So this is the problem with like our housing, is that, yeah, we've created a class of people that benefit from the current system. And the irony is, right, so all the older generation who we all look at and we're like, man, those lot, they don't even give a shit about us. They don't care that by them sitting on these wealthy, like an old lady living in a massive mansion is insane. It's clearly insane. But she's probably, if you really think about it, if you have a little bit of empathy for her, she's thinking from her individualistic manner, because the state is not going to offer you anything because we've decimated the state. She's thinking, well, I need to retire, and I probably am going to have to pay for my own, end-of-life care. And I would like to leave something for my kids because I can see that they're going to struggle. So I need to give them something. But end-of-life care, because of this process of everything becoming more expensive because of things like this, means that probably she'll do an equity release scheme. She'll release some of the money from her property, and she'll spend most of her money on herself before she dies, because it costs a lot to look after yourself before you die. And then maybe you hand a little bit down to your kids. But it ain't going to be enough for them because the fundamental structure's fucked, right? So this is where people start acting in their individual interest, which is actually worse for everyone. But because that is the system that we've been given, that's where we're stuck. It's like really hard to get out of that. But that's where we need to like fucking wake people up to like a better alternative. We have to say, look, this is fucked. Committee of the bourgeoisie. Yeah. Wait, I'm American and didn't even know elections happened yesterday. Who won? Yeah, this is like council elections. So this isn't, This isn't like, it's important on sort of a symbolic level. I mean, it's also important in reality, but like, it doesn't mean that reform have won. Thoughts on authoritarianism compared to anarchy? I'm definitely against anarchy. Like, anarchy creates the grounds for authoritarianism. Like, if you don't have rules to stop... I'm a big believer in rules. I just believe rules work. You have to all agree to something, and you have to all play on the same level playing field, and then you can get good outcomes. If you don't have rules... Because what you're saying is a very liberal attitude. It's this belief in individual decisions and believing that you can uphold society by nothing other than fucking goodwill and good vibes. I'm sorry to tell you, there's going to be someone who doesn't have goodwill and good vibes out there, and he will manipulate your kindness, and he will see the gap in the market for an arsehole to come through and win. That's what Andrew Tate is. That's what Donald Trump is. Like, that belief, it's so naive, that belief that people can just be and do good. Yeah, a lot of people can, but that one person won't, and he'll fuck the game up for everyone, and then you'll all have to do the same because you need to survive. So I don't personally believe in no rules. I believe you need rules. You need a state, but then it comes down to how democratized your state is. And your state, effectively, to have a good democracy, it's like balances of power. So if you have a society where only the wealthy people have all the money and everyone else doesn't, then they have all of the power. So if the government makes a decision that they don't like, they can do something about it, right? They can close their shops. They can leave. They can, because they control everything. Right? If that wealth is evenly or more evenly distributed between the classes, then each layer of society has a power stake in society. So if you fuck with the working class and they're all unionized, which, by the way, if you can, go and unionize. If the working class is all unionized and you fuck with them too heavy, they can strike. They can stop working. That's power. They have power. As a unit, they have power, right? When you get rid of their ability to strike, that's why they do this constantly. That's why they pass laws to try and make it weaker, so you have less protections, that you have less ability even to join unions. That's why they do that, because they have a power stake in society. If the middle class get fucked with. If they get poorer and poorer, they'll vote for a reform party. They'll vote for some crazy alternative. So, like, you need a society where each layer has a power stake. And anarchy, I don't know actually where we were tying that with. I think someone did ask something at the beginning. Yeah, I don't know. It's individuals that create the market. I'm not an individualist. I'm definitely a collectivist. Like, I think everyone is a collectivist. Like, no, like, I don't know. Individualism. You want to have a society where you champion an individual person to be able to try things, and like, one of the things in Britain is, and I wouldn't even say this is a collectivist problem. This is like a class attitude problem, which probably, I don't know, is that sometimes you would sort of have this feeling that as a poor person in Britain, you can't do much, or you can't achieve much. That's a cultural problem. And I want a society where you can celebrate people who are different, right? And, you know, recognize this person, he isn't built to be a factory worker. He's probably built to be, you know, a leader of something. That's great. But individualism cannot topple collectivism. It's insane. What differences do you have ideologically compared to Corbyn? I'm very pro, like, nuclear weapons. And I believe in a strong defensive state. And I would say that's mainly, and I'm very anti-Putin and Russia. And he's a bit softer. I'm very pro-Ukrainian. I'm an individualist, US Constitution and all that. But explain what you mean to me, because all these US, like, sort of US patriots, you're always talking about the family, the community, and like the church and stuff. That's not individualism. Individualism is fuck all those people. I need, like, individualism is dog eat dog. Like, that's what it is. It's me over everyone else. Individual, it's dangerous. It's like a dangerous ideology. Because whilst you might be able to behave yourself and you might be able to have morals control you, individuals, if you build a society on individualism, there are people who don't. Why do you think in America, the most individualistic society on earth, you get people like Jack Doherty, you know, the streamer? Like, he's realized, Jack Doherty or like Sneeko, well, Jack Doherty is a better one because he just goes out and fucks with people. The reason they exist primarily in America is because you are such an individualistic nation that they can just, they don't care about what other people think. They only care what they think and them getting their bag, as they say. So they only think of that. And they look at it and they go, I'm in a society that tells me I have to only focus on myself and only care about myself. I don't give a shit about anyone else. I'm going to go out and annoy people on camera because I will get views because the controversy will sell. Why do you not see that same culture happening in, I don't know, you don't see it even here that much. We had one kid called Mizzy who tried to do that shit, and my God, that boy got smited by society. Yeah, so it's like your culture rewards that. Like someone like Jack Doherty, the reason you can clutch your pearls all you want and be like, he's a piece of shit and like we hate him, but you don't. You celebrate him. He gets a financial reward, and your society tells you that if you get a financial reward, that is all that matters. That is all that matters. And so no amount of goodwill or good vibes will stop Jack doing what he does, because he's going to get rewarded, and your society tells him that that is all that matters, is that he gets money. Like, no good vibes is going to stop that. No good vibes is going to stop that. And that's why I'm so disillusioned with like liberal thought that just, if we all just behave better. No, you need fucking systems and you need laws because there are people who will always be greedy. And especially if you build a society that's built on the cultural values of success and attention, and you tell kids from a young age that to mean something in society is to be on the big screen or be famous this, famous that. If you tell kids that from a young age, then obviously they're going to end up, you're going to have one or two Jack Dohertys. And ain't shit you can do about that. Thoughts on Just Some Geezer? Yeah, I love him. He's a great lad. I really like his videos. His takedowns on like Tommy Robinson and that are fantastic. Sound a bit right wing there. I don't know what you mean. Like, if that's right wing, I don't know. It'd be hard to define that as right wing. I'm just saying that cultural attitudes are second to... The cultural attitudes might create a system, but they are second to it. So you can't just have a cultural value of be good. You need to have like systems that uphold that. And if you don't, it might last for a while. People might be good. However, it can very quickly change, right? If you think, like, what's like maybe a good example? Well, I'd say that. Like, yeah, we had a cultural attitude, or America might have, of like sort of be respectful in society, behave yourself, etc. But because they didn't have any sort of strict laws, or even just because they're so hell-bent on, like, their media is allowed to do whatever the fuck, right? There was no regulation that said, if you go out and harass people, we will take this video off YouTube, right? That would have been a rule that would have stopped someone like him doing what he does, right? But because America is so free market, individualistic, you can't do that. You're against doing stuff like that. So your society is just, unfortunately, kind of like, it's weak to exploitation. That's why rules work. Right wing historically is typically also about discipline and rules. I agree with you. The wider point is that left wing and right wing are a load of rubbish. It's not a clear linear line. Sort of. I know what you're getting at. But I wouldn't say, like, I don't know. There is probably a strain of leftist thought that is like, I don't know. I don't hear it a lot. I don't hear people be like, yeah, you should be a piece of shit to people in public and get away with it because you're expressing yourself. I don't really hear that. I know that's what sort of people characterize left-wing attitudes. Like, what we want is people to be able to express themselves. Well, what I want. I'm not going to talk for everyone. People to be able to express themselves, be who they are, not be ashamed of who they are, but don't be shitty to other people. And don't create a society that rewards that behavior. Is this any reflection of the next election? Yeah, that's kind of what the big question people are asking. Yeah, is what we saw with reform indication of perhaps where the next election will end up? Has there been any change? BBC. Jesus Christ, it's gone up. It's got worse, lads. 558. Fucking hell. That's insane, isn't it? Are you hiring editors at the moment? I'm kind of good for editors at the moment. I'm still looking for writers. So yeah, mainly that. God, that's just been. I absolutely feel like I've just let my brain unload on you guys. So I appreciate you being here. We're not cooked, lads. We're not cooked. This is the beginning of something. I'd want capitalism to be completely replaced, but it's unrealistic. But Daddy Reagan got rid of that law. Actually, communism with non-fixed leader are not bad option for many modern countries with a lot of resource and technology from perspective of civilization. I'm genuinely so lost what's going on. Which elections? It's the UK council elections. Reform UK now control Derbyshire County Council. If you're looking for writers, yeah, man, writers, just send me an email. My email's in my bio somewhere. But I'm gonna run one little ad because I need to get a drink of water. I'll be 2 seconds, all right? Insert ad. Odd ads. All right. We're back. Chair advert. No ad. 1 minute. Surely an ad played. Hold up. Is an ad playing? UK is cooked, lads. Base socialist YouTuber rejects capitalist advertisements. No ad. All right, we got some ads. I think it doesn't give everyone the ad. Everyone uses ad block. You know, boys, I don't blame you. It doesn't affect me too much, I don't think. Ad for drinking water. Yes, stay hydrated. I'm a bottled water boy. That's me. I ain't drinking from these fucking taps, bruv. The piss and the poo. It's too much for me. It's too much for your boy. Is there any point doing like call-ins? I like the idea of doing call-ins, but I don't know, it can get ropey real quick, can't it? If I get a dodgy dude in here, Maybe I'll just have a look at my Discord if anyone's sat in there. Yeah. Pardon me. Let's have a look. Maybe we'll do a call-in. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling yappy today. I'm like a bit of a yapper spaniel, aren't I? You could end up on LBC. Discord call-ins. I can do. I could. This way need mods. Yeah, I do have some mods. On Discord, but yeah, I guess not in the stream right now. 1 minute. Let me see. I do have a thing which is like the special event stage. Oh, you go. I got a stage. Alright, what I'm gonna do. I might do some call-ins. I don't know how this shit works. So let's just invite everyone to the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, obviously join the Discord. Discord's beautiful. And I'm going to go in this special event stage. And then I'm going to see if I can do like a call-in thing. I don't know. Maybe. You don't have permission. Oh, well, that ain't going to work then, is it? Why is it not going to work? Surely I have permission in my own fucking server. If I ain't got permission here. One in audience. I don't know how it works, man. There is a way of making this shit work. Pop in. Let me just go in the... mod chat. I banned him today. General chat. Unusual. No. It always kicks people out when I get... What? 25 actions. Yeah, well, allow them to fucking join, you idiot. Why would you want me to not allow people... Unusual, review the alert. Markers resolved. Yeah, just allow them in, bruv. They're allowed in. Markers resolved. Increase activity from normal members. No actions needed. There we go. Okay. I don't know. Some shit. Oh, thank you so much for the donate. Confused Siren. I appreciate that. I'm going to try and figure out how to use this shitty Discord. How is Discord so popular? Because it's like actually kind of shit. Suppressed. You do not have permission. Okay, let's see about that. How do I make it so that I have permission? Shall I share my screen? And maybe you guys can guide me. How do I make it so that I have permission to chat in here? Permissions. There we go. Members. Okay. Permissions not synced with category. Sync now. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I literally have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just clicking shit. Suppress. You do not have permissions. I don't know how to use this shit, boys. I'll be honest. Let me see if anyone's in the chat. What is Discord? I think you have a single private channel and public lobby. Then you manually add a person. Why do they make it so complicated? They are like... Oh, there we go. Start a stage. Stream chat. There we go. I fucking did it. So now I think people can just like raise their hand. There we go. People are in. All right. Fuck. That was so much harder than I thought it should have been. Raise your hand if you're not with a man. Can I get it? Yes, you can. If you like, I don't know. I think you can raise your hand. Maybe just put a DM or a chat thing. I'm a boomer, so just allow my shit talk. And just say like in the thing, like just tell me you're not fucking insane. That's what I'm trying to say, lads. I'll be honest. I don't want to chat with someone insane. If you're insane, I'm sorry. You can go and, I don't know, hop on. I'm sure there's many people. You can go and join like a Sargon of a Cat stream, a few streams. Invite speak, Grogu. Grogu, just tell me 1 minute. Grogu. Oh, fucking hell. Hello, Grogu. Grogu. Can I hear you? Can I hear you? I don't think I can fucking hear you, bruv. Is it me that I can't hear you? Maybe I muted it. Unmute site. There we go. Well, go on. Yeah, 1 sec. You're coming out my fucking TV. I don't know why. Sorry, mate. Give me 2 secs. Voice and audio. Output. Digital. There we go. Bang. Cheese. Say something?
Hey, is it good?
Yes, brother. How we doing? Are you insane? That's the thing. I'm
I don't think I'm too insane.
in the membrane.
Huh.
Membrane
You're
remains
kinda-
intact. How you doing, man?
Yeah,
You
I
good?
think so. Yeah, I'm good.
What do you
I
want
just
to
thought
talk
I'd
about?
try. So there's kind of questions that I was thinking about. I'm just curious why more people don't get involved directly in politics, like run for MP or just like run for councillor, just try stuff like that.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think that is where it's heading. That's another thing with the council vote that just happened is, I don't know if you saw, but Darren Grimes, you know who that prick is, Darren Grimes?
I don't actually.
So he's like some insanely cringe far right guy who is, he's like, there's an old video of Darren Grimes from probably, I'm going to say 2015, of him looking like a Tumblr kid. So he's like a gay dude from Brighton who somehow realised there's more money in being really racist than there is in being like, you know, pro-LGBT. So he did like the full switch. And I think he used to work for like the BBC or something. But then he ended up being on GB News. And he is the most like annoying, cringe, condescending person. Anyway, he won in the council election. So he is really like a product of just online culture. And he's won. So I do think there is like, where we're at right now is like, I basically think we need like a real clear strategy. And it's kind of, yeah, it's like we need like a group of us lot to just be like, look, what is the strat? Let's figure it out and then put people forward. So I think it will happen. I think what you're saying is like a good idea, but it just takes time.
But yeah, if you also just want to hear some like hope, I guess. I'm in secondary school right now, so I am young. But I know there's a lot more left kids than there are like far right kids, like just generally. Like there's not many reform supporters, maybe one or two, like in my year, of like 240 kids.
Nice.
I'd say it's going pretty good among the youth. So
would you say the younger, like the people who sort of lean on the left, what do they worry about, and like what sort of draws them towards the left, like what kind of things? Because at my age it's basically cost of living. We're all like, you know, house prices and stuff, but what's it for you guys?
I'd say like it ranges on the left, but there are some kids who are like full on communists, which I think is pretty odd. But like I don't have an issue with it. But it's just like an odd perspective for like where we are. But I think one of the main draws is just, I guess, it is critical thinking in a way, just exposed to a lot of stuff online, very exposed to a lot of different thought, and I think a lot of them do sort of get drawn into things, get into different like political perspectives, and they just look at them and say, what does this have to me? And some of them do feel issues with the current system, like how their lives are generally. Like I've got friends who can't afford to go out, so it's like their parents haven't got any money, they're struggling, they can see their parents are struggling, the system isn't working, so they do tend to go to the left.
It's good that, yeah, because that's basically that's the hopeful idea, is that people, because what you have is when that is the situation, when people live like that, they can be susceptible to moving to the right because they can be told that the reason being is obviously because of the immigrants and stuff. But if the left does its job and tells you the honest truth, which is that it's like the structure at the moment and like inequality that's causing everything to be so expensive, then yeah, people should be able to see like obviously it's to do with that. So there is like, this is why I don't know, I don't tend to land on being too pessimistic or too like beaten down by it. Like a lot of leftists are, maybe it's because I'm too new to it, but the reason being is because I see all this as opportunity. Like I see the obvious opportunities that we have right now, and it just requires people to take it. Do you think you would want to go into politics as a young age? Or have you thought about it or anything?
Yeah, I've kind of thought about it a lot. I'm on a pretty good track right now, and I do pretty well academically, and I'm thinking of going to like Oxford and like the whole PPE sort of route.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I am interested in it, but I'll see if I can do something, I guess.
Big up, man. Well, I appreciate that. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. My wife is she's from Ukraine and that, so she doesn't know a lot about the British young people, but she always has a kind of a good opinion of the younger lot because she sees them as sort of people like, the big critique a lot of people have of young people is they're too entitled. But I've started to think that actually they value themselves a bit more. Like they don't want to have the lives that they've seen their parents live, and they don't see that it's a fair trade for, you know, just go work a shit job until you can one day maybe afford rent. Like, so it is good to hear that from you.
It does vary though, because some think there's no hope at all, which is a bit grim.
Yeah, that's the other side. That's the darker side, the nihilist.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, thanks for letting me speak, I guess.
No sweat, man. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to jump on? If anyone's got any like questions, I don't know, a specific question or even like a different opinion to me, I'm curious to hear. Are we going to end up with a British version of Margaret Taylor Greene? Isn't it Marjorie Taylor Greene? I fucking hope not. But I have met women just like, I know friends' mums who are basically exactly that. What's going on? I just jumped on. Maybe if you lot like bang your question in here in the chat, and then I can just sort of pick the one that I'm most interested in. The British version of MTG is Katie Hopkins. To a degree, yeah, but I don't know, is she still relevant? Yeah, this is fucking He's so cringe, man. I hate him.
County Durham runs
It's the way he talks. He's like so
through
irritating.
my family tree almost as much as Cole once did. I was brought up here, educated here. This is where brave, selfless men risked everything, in the mines, on the battlefield, to hand us the inheritance we have today. An inheritance our politicians recklessly vandalise. Labour and the Tories failed with. They've taken were for granted, ignored and forgotten in this precious corner of England. That's
I hate this guy so much. He kills me. It's all a character.
why I've come back. I left the media world in London to return here and fight for what they built, for what's ours. Because, my friends, Britain, in almost every respect imaginable, is in desperate need of reform.
Now, the MP, Luke Akehurst, he's been out and about in this part of the
I
world.
hate him so much. I'm sorry. I know it shouldn't just be so superficial, but I detest this man.
I think, actually, we've given Labour the willies.
We've given Labour the wheelies. Is he Welsh or where is he from?
And
Oh, just that as well, bro. I fucking hate him. Such a prick. Oh my god. He could have just went into, like, I don't know, fucking judging dance TV shows or something, but instead he went to become a fucking far right MP or councillor.
I tell you, he's someone that's from Oxford, right? So I think, actually, to a certain extent, folks, I'm surprised he even remembered that we're here. He's an MP that was parachuted in by Labour command to stand.
Oh god, I would probably punch him directly between the eyes. I don't think I could be in that audience. I think I would just break his face. I'm not condoning violence at all. So just don't let me be in that place, because I think I would very accidentally break the law. Oh god, that stressed me out. Fuck him so much. Oh. All right, sorry. So who wants to jump in the chat? Anyone got a question? I was really asking that a question. At the end of the day, the state. Please, can you do a video on? I don't know who that is. What's going on? First time I've ever heard you lie. I'm a student trying to set up a left-wing populist answer to current right-wing media infrastructure. Would love to talk to you about it. Yeah, all right, let's go. O'Reilly, how do I get you in, brother? Invite to speak. Well gone, brother.
Hello, how's it going?
Yes, my guy. You good?
Yeah, man, how about you?
I'm depressed now. I just listened to Darren Grimes speak, and it really affects me.
I would not ever recommend doing that personally.
I think he referred to. I think he said Starmer gave him the willies, and I vomited in my mouth.
Yeah, he's detestable. Is the word I'd probably use for him. But yeah, no, I wanted to sort of talk about a kind of shift I've noticed recently. I'm at university at the moment, and a ton of my friends who were previously maybe not caring about politics, have through your content and Gary's, etc., kind of woken up to the state of things. And it kind of got us all talking about, why is there no, left-wing media infrastructure that's seeing the kind of indoctrination you've spoken about it with your right-wing pipeline video, obviously. And there keeps being this conversation about whether there's a Joe Rogan of the left. When's that going to come? And we basically said, there already is a Joe Rogan of the left. It's Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He basically represents the kind of media equilibrium for what young men want, which is sort of funny conversations, anecdotes with people who are otherwise inaccessible to them. So people they look up to, billionaires, entrepreneurs, presidents, The left doesn't do that because they're really inaccessible, because the majority of the left content is packaged to an end because they're trying to sell you something because they think they're better. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. Academic writing, that's a sort of liberal left kind of area. It's so inaccessible. It's big words. You've got to pay to read these papers. There are, referencing styles. All of these things are so inaccessible for people who want to hear their message. And only recently are people trying to kind of reach across the aisle. I know Pete Buttigieg, I don't know if you know him in America, is going on the Flagrant podcast.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that if you give so someone like an Andrew Schultz is like a fucking vibes boy. He just goes with what's kind of cool or feels cool, or like he sees something in like these people. This is what I always try to say. They're not like fundamentalist right wingers at all. They're not even close to that. They're voting on what they see as strength and like change. That's really it. It's purely vibes based. So like when we're online and we're like talking about politics, we're talking to people that are ideologically right wing, or we're talking about people like that. But the bulk of people that probably like an Andrew Schultz, they're not really invested like that. So it's mad when you see Pete Buttigieg go on that panel and they all agree with him, and all of the comments are like, wow, this guy actually talks sense. Because it's like, obviously it's because they're not like bought in, they're not deep believers, they're not true believers, they were just looking for change and they don't know enough, and they haven't. Most people, to be completely honest, when you're in that right-wing ecosystem, you won't even listen to someone like a Pete Buttigieg. You don't even know if you disagree with him, because you're only ever going to hear what like some right-wing guy tells you about them.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the Democrats had a problem where they were kind of too snobby to even go on those kind of podcasts, because one of them said a sexist thing once and they didn't want to like give into that, and that was a huge problem for them because people just weren't hearing their message.
Yeah.
But what people don't kind of realize is the majority of people aren't like they don't care about ideology. They're not ideologues. People like want to have fucking basic necessities and live a nice life and be kind of happy. And it just so happens that one side is giving a kind of more appealing and easier message, which is it's these people rather than it's that system. And it's also inherently harder to blame it on the system when the people that run the system and run the media are telling you it's not the system, it's this group of people.
Yeah.
You've obviously used that example with the billionaire saying, oh no, that migrant's going to take your cookie, and he's got 50 cookies, you know.
Yeah, and it's an easy job for the right, because they can just like, their whole thing is always going to be like, they've got an enemy, they've got a target, and that is like, yeah, this sort of social way of looking at it. It's like an ideology of like wokeism or something like that, and we just need to root that out, and then everything will be okay. 1 minute. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate the donor. Do you think reform will scrap term limits? I don't think they're quite as like fanatically far right as that. I think they could lay the groundwork towards that. Sorry, mate. Yeah, so it's like, what was we just saying? Sorry, my attention span flicks like that. If I see something, it breaks my attention span. It just goes. What was we just saying about just then? Just literally just then.
Just so that people aren't ideological as much as they kind of want basic things, and if one side's just saying it louder and easier, you're going to go towards that side.
Yeah.
And in the same way, if you're looking at kind of Trump in America, you've got let's say there's a metaphor where a house is burning down, and Trump is saying, I'm going to offer you like insurance on the house, and we're going to punish the people that set it on fire, even if it's the wrong people. And the other side's saying, don't vote for the other guy, he's going to burn the house down.
That's it. Yeah. 100%. That's exactly it. It's like, so left wing or establishment left messaging is effectively don't do the other thing. So it's like the other thing is fucked and stupid. Like, it's not going to work. Like, Trump's thing is not going to work. But they're not saying vote for us. They're saying don't vote for that guy, and that's instantly defensive, and it's instantly never going to win. Like, I don't see how they see any power in that messaging, and it's because they're just tied to their ideology of sort of like neoliberal economics, and the left cannot win until it gets rid of that. Like, it cannot win, and that's what Labour's going to see. But yeah, I guess our thing is like, we need to build that actual political alternative. I mean, it starts with the messaging, it starts with the online content, but at some point it's going to have to be people getting out and voting for specific people.
Well, Labour had the chance to learn, right? Their manifesto was called Change. They ran on change. People voted for them to see change from 14 years of Tory austerity and bullshit, and they've delivered nothing, and if anything, shifted further to the right. And so people are now voting for change, which is what they voted on in the last election, and that's seen reform come in, because they're now the party promising change. And there's no left party kind of jumping into that thing. And I heard what you were saying about Ed Davey earlier, and they just have this huge branding problem where they're the kind of clean, middle-class, liberal Democrats at a time when the idea of a liberal democracy is kind of failing.
Yeah.
The majority of people with the cost of living crisis, and that's a huge problem. And in terms of like, how do you solve that? You and Gary are sort of kicking it off. People are kind of waking up to the huge problem we have, and hopefully that can happen before the next general election, and we don't end up with some kind of crisis. But look, I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you for
I appreciate it, man. And if you're working on building something specific and you ever need some advice or help or anything, give me a message.
I've shot you a DM on Twitter, so we can have a chat at a later time.
Great, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, man. It's not looking great, is it? Should we listen to more Darren Grimes? Should I fucking piss myself off more? But yeah, it's great to see. I didn't know that. I'm hearing this a bit where people are like, what you are doing is having an influence. So I had like, well, he's just said it about, you know, his mates, and that's massive. And people were saying it. I heard it. Some academics I was talking to were like, we should get Jimmy on this project, and I was like, you know, I didn't know about this. It was like some academics and that, and these kind of like well-respected academics, and yeah, it's kind of mad. And I sort of see it like we're playing roles in this, in like the movement at the moment. I'd say like Gary is doing the absolute just get the fucking thing out there, and he's just doing all the heavy lifting. Like, bless Gary, man. He's stressed. Like, it's a lot for him right now. Like, Gary's just about to go on a holiday to like Japan or Sweden for a bit. Like, he's going for a few places. The man is stressed, bruv. He's stressed. He's a human. Like, you forget. It seems easy doing what he does because he's just talking. It's not. He goes into war zones, bruv. He's going into like enemy territory and debating them and making his point. And he's like thinking the whole time, how am I going to get this message through to these people? How do I do it? And he's got the weight of the whole fucking movement. It's unfortunately so centralized at the moment that it's on his shoulders because he is the face of it at the moment. And yeah, it's tough for him. So we all need to play our roles, and our roles can be varying levels of size, but they can all have their own impact. So I would say like Gary is getting the headline, "This is what is broken" message out, and like explaining the deep economics of that. And then I'm talking about the structures in government and doing these big debunks and big video essays where I give people, I guess, counter arguments to a lot of prevailing narratives that are out there from the right. And giving people, like, I kind of see what I hope, like, this is my hope, is that you watch my videos, you take some information, put it in your back pocket, and when you're next at the pub and someone brings up why the trans are shit, you can be like, bruv, the trans ain't even that shit. But you know who is? The fucking Tories, or just the fucking establishment, neoliberalism. Get them on. You go, mate, bruv, when have you bumped into a trans person? When have you gone for a shit and even heard a trans person squeezing next to you? You ain't ever had that. But you've definitely been down a high street, and you've definitely seen underfunded fucking city centres that have gone to shit. You have seen that every day. The place where you grew up, where you have all your childhood memories, it's gone to shit. Why is that? Policy, austerity, financial crash, neoliberalism, privatization. You can then explain to them. And why do you want to know about trans people? Why are you thinking about trans people? Because of fucking Rupert Murdoch, because of fucking the Barclays brothers, because of the billionaires that control our media. They so desperately do not want you to complain about the fucking fact that we are not taxing rich people and we're not funding our public spaces anymore. So they want you to complain about the trans person shitting in this fictional toilet that you might one day walk into. Tell them that when they start telling you that the trans are shit. And tell them that trans ain't even that shit, bruv. The inherent problem with politicians is that they want to be politicians. That in itself implies some sort of personal agenda. Why else do it? Yeah. 100%. 100%. Here goes Jimmy repeating Owen Jones' talking point. Mate, my change in opinion on Owen Jones is quite mad. Same for Ash Sarkar. I used to really dislike her when I was younger. But she's cool. I went on Navara and they were chill bros. Well, she's not bro, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah. Not Owen Jones. Owen Jones is alright, bruv. Like, I don't know. I haven't heard him say. Actually, I don't know about him on Ukraine. I don't know. Maybe I'm not heard about that. Them not always end up anti-NATO. And the thing is, NATO is fucked. But like, you kind of need a defensive alliance, don't you? Ash is sick. Yeah. Jones stabbed Corbyn in the back. Didn't know about that. Ash okay now. She's matured. Yeah. Fashion Roadman. What a sick name. That's the thing about Gary's message. I want to know about his answer to the next question. What is in like how to implement wealth taxes? There's like, it's a fucking. It's not. You can't explain how to do a wealth tax in like, you know, a statement. It's like complete. To be honest, that's what I was talking about earlier about the EU. It's like it needs to be a collective of nations joined together to block off trade from companies that don't want to pay their fair share in taxes. You need that, and there are whole plans. There's a guy called Richard Murray, and he has a whole like how to tax the rich plan. It will raise like 100 billion for Britain, and you got to bear in mind just fundamentally. So as people talk about costing out, so say you tax the rich and wealth tax will only get 20 billion. They'll be like, well, why do it? It's only 20 billion. That's like one day of money in the NHS or whatever. I don't know what it is. What was I going to fucking say? But you have to understand this is a messaging that we need to get across. It's not about literally costing out the prices of every one of our expenditures. It's the understanding that inequality in and of itself raises the cost of living. If you have very, very rich people with tons and tons of money, that will squeeze you out of housing. And that will directly raise the cost of living. So if we can just reduce their wealth to some degree, to something more manageable, then we can actually start seeing some better impacts on society. It's not about costing out a budget. I mean, to some degree it is, but it's not entirely about, look, they got the money, we need to take it and then pay for everything. Taking that money from them will actually bring down the prices of stock, shares, housing, energy, all this stuff. You'll start to see the ripple effects. And then I'm a believer in building out the state more. I would want more state involvement into like, you know, certain industries, energy, etc. We need to pressure Greens to get a populist leader. Agreed. And they will. To be honest, from my understanding, Greens are a very democratic party. If enough people join the Greens and want them to change how they do things, they will do it. What's her name? Helena from No Justice MGT was telling me, like, that's how they're structured. If we went in, like, we could literally do this, and I am thinking about maybe organising this at some point. If we got, I don't know how many members they have, but if we got enough of us to join the Green Party, we could shift it in whatever way we wanted it. Like, if we had enough of us, if there was, like, I don't know, 20,000 of us that joined and became members of the Green Party, we could vote for a leader that we wanted. We could do it, and it's something I'm thinking about. We're going to chat with the Greens a bit more because it might be the strat. And I don't think the Greens are a shit brand yet, but we could move them in the direction we wanted to. Website says over 50,000. So effectively, we need 25,000 people to do it. But it can be done. We could, between me and Gary and probably a few others, like, I want to say me, Gary, just some geezer, maybe Ordinary Things, but I think he's more leaning on Labour, but I don't think he's, like, bought in on them. We could probably have enough influence to get maybe like that. If we could get that 25,000, we could shape a whole party. I just think about it like that. That's how you got to understand your power, is that can happen. If 25,000 people, and bearing in mind our audiences span a couple, 3-4 million, if 25,000 people came in, we could coup the Green Party. It's a maybe. It's a maybe. Okay, I see. I thought it was about more of a case of using the money to try and fund the balance, which confuses me because that relies on government spending efficiency. It is to a degree. Like, you do want the money in to spend on the things, but just inherently fixing inequality will make the cost of living cheaper. If people are less, if you have less extreme, think about Bali. Loads of wealthy foreign people went and lived in Bali, took all of their big amounts of money, and then they raised the price of everything. Why? Because if you're a restaurant in Bali, right, and you have tons of very wealthy people that come into your country, you then go, well, why would I charge £5 a meal? I can charge £20 a meal. They'll still pay it. That's how housing works and things like that. That's how it works. That's how, like, stocks and shares work. When you have a shitload of wealthy people that hold all that value, they drive prices. And, like, lots of things are connected. Like, yeah. Some points, one left to centre just splits the votes. Less than 30% turnover needs to be active. Investigation of these media campaigns and bots they're 100% using. Messaging needs to be clear. Yeah, good points. I'm not sure about the split the vote thing, because I just don't think you can. I'm starting to think, like, you can't just keep. We're committing the problem if we keep allowing Starmer and that sort of centrist shit to win. I don't think you can win on, like, all you're going to do is inevitably lead to a more stronger right-wing alternative. That's what's going to happen. If you keep pushing for, like, oh, we can't split the vote, then we're not showing them that we have any power. So they're just going to keep doing the centrist shit, which is only going to make the right go further right. The Greens are a grassroots party, so if enough join, we can change things on a policy level. Yeah, amen. Thank you for the donor. Thank you for all the donors. Well, wealth is a representation of resources. Capitalist dogma goes that there can be infinite wealth, but there's a finite number of resources in one place at any one time. Amen. Let's see. Did anyone else want to chat? Who else we got on the fucking chit chatters? If you've got something you want to chat to me about, jump in here and just say what you want to chat about. Some people and some trans things. Who's just talking? Kind of disagree with your view on referendums. Maybe we could chat about. They said reform would split the vote. I'll chat. But what do you want to chat about? Maybe we'll do the referendum one. Do you think Labour will pander more to reform after? Yeah, definitely. They'll definitely pander more to reform. It's how they're playing it. Maybe how it can be beaten. Chat to Snow. All right. Snow, let me get you in. I forgot to ask, how do you think of the traditional politicians, Oxford educated? I'm going to come off straight. I think I'm going to do like 1 or 2 more calls and then I'm going to come off straight. Labour is too corrupt to coup. Gary won't win them. You're probably right. You reckon Starmer can pull Carney? Carney? What is in the Canadian geezer? Yeah. I don't want him to. Starmer's not it. He ain't it. I don't want him to win. I would, in some senses, I'd rather see Reform win. Because then it will at least, well, I mean, it could go either way. It will either mean that Labour go even more right, or it will mean they'll have to recognise that they have to go left. Because they're going to lose. You're going to lose if you play. Labour, the left-wing party, cannot win the right-wing game. It cannot win that. So why are they trying to win it? Greens are the only party whose manifesto calls for a wealth tax. Yeah. I like the Greens. I do like the Greens. It's purely aesthetics at this point. It's purely aesthetics. Policy-wise, they're pretty on. And also, like, you know, I've heard a lot of stories about them being NIMBYs and shit. Sorry, I missed the thing, didn't I? Someone went to chat. I think it was Snow. Snow, Jimmy sent a message earlier about having the biggest impact. Labour have become super centrist. Yeah, I'd even say they're tacking to the right now. Snow, you wanted to jump on. What did you want to chat about, bruv? Oh, why splitting the vote is bad. Maybe that could be okay. All right, fuck it. Fucking how do I do it, bruv? You need to put your hand up, I think. I'm kind of like asking for people who sort of have something they specifically want to ask me or debate about or something. I definitely want to debate with some right wingers, bruv. I need some more right wingers. If I got any right wingers in the let's invite you to speak. If I got any right wingers in the chat, I wouldn't mind like maybe just hearing your opinions on stuff. There you go. Yes, brother. How you doing? Jeremy. Not right wing, but a crypto, bro. Could we do one of these fiat fucking rabbit holes? I don't know enough about it, I don't think, to really have a strong opinion. I would maybe have a chat though, just to hear what you have to say. But I can't hear you, Snow. I think maybe your mic's muted or something like that. My laughed goat Jimmy has gone to the dark side. Why am I in the dark side? What is this rage bait title? Basically, they deserve the win because Labour have done nothing. I mean, it would have been nice if Greens done more, but Greens have doubled their vote share again. Always take your dubs where you can take them. Let's have a look. Oh, Greens have gone up massively. They've got up 42 seats. That's sick. Fucking fair play. They've nearly overtaken Labour. That is good news. Actually, let's do some quick maths. Trying to work out if the left wing vote's bigger. So no, I can't hear you, bruv. Maybe something's fucked. 74 plus 81. So overall left wing vote so far is 486. Overall, that's definitely, yeah, we've definitely fucked it. I wonder how many of the independents you could call left wing. 2, 6, 7. But that's why it's not really about all that, because at the end of the day, these people, I reckon many reform voters would vote left. Oh, 846, 49. God damn. His mic's muted. Bruv, your mic's muted. I don't know how to fix that, but if you maybe you right click on it. He's gone. Alright. Who was like a little bit on the right I wanted to chat? Who's sort of debating about the trans now? I'm just so confused. So it just reserves a problem while advertising it to 1 minute for people who ever take advantage of it. Yeah, the crypto bros are a bit, I don't know. I don't know enough about monetary policy to like really give a strong thing, but to me I can't see how a finite currency is good. It would become an asset that gets hoarded, right? Surely. That's like how I would assume it would be. I turned it off again. I debated about the trans thing. Okay. Important stats. It's only 13 seats that have moved from non-conservatives to reform. Yeah, that makes sense. So the left has gained 9 net seats and the right has gained 13 net seats. Interesting. Some good stats there. I probably will jump off in a bit, but it's been fun streaming today, man. I want to be honest, I want to stream more. I know I say this every fucking stream. I'm like, can I just be totally honest with like how my YouTube works and like how doing my job, how it works, right? So I make 2 videos a month because they're big and they're complicated and it just takes a lot for me to write them. I have to write them, they get edited, I then finish them up. It takes a lot. And I get 2 videos out, right? And if they do well, it's great, we're eating. But if they do shit, then I've got to wait a whole another month until like... So the 2 that I've just put out, one's done really well, one's done so shit. And that's quite an annoying thing. The media one didn't do very well. The Fleeing Britain one did really well. And I would just like to have more consistent content. So I was thinking maybe I do like a weekly show that's streaming and perhaps it's like a bit more organized. Perhaps it's like, I don't know, better camera. Maybe I invite guests on. Perhaps we have like segments and maybe I like upload that video as like a live stream, but like a full thing to my page and then bang out clips on the second channel. Just because it's like kind of annoying having to my content. I post 2 videos a month and they're always in the last week of the month. So you wait a whole month and you get 2 videos. So like I could ideally do more content than that. You know, like my channel could ideally do that. So yeah, I need to figure out how I want to do it. But yeah, we need low effort content, like you were saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. I need low effort content because like my shit is too fucking polished and I enjoy it. It's sick, but it's just too much. And people seem to like when I do podcasts. They're always like, people enjoy all that. And when I do streams, people enjoy it. So it's like I need to kind of use it a little bit more, I think. Chill streams, chatting shit with the Discord lads. Yeah, I agree. Greens can't take a majority, but they could. Is anyone got their hand up? We got confused. No one's like asking a question. What about this funky monkey dude? I think he might have asked something. Or maybe I'm just not reading it. This guy seems easy. I want to talk about if Labour's doing more damage than good to message. Yeah, I agree with it. I want someone maybe I disagree with a little bit. I don't even know if the people in the Discord chat are watching. Make a slop channel. Yeah, I have my second channel for my slop. I agree with you, too much to debate you. Yeah, that's fair enough. What do you think about people who can actively appeal for left-wing politics? You were talking about organised, but something directly. What do you think people can do to actively appeal for left-wing politics? Jimmy, oh fuck. One minute, let me answer that. Actively appeal for left-wing politics. I think like, you know, I was saying this on my Twitter the other day. I feel like let's do just a little last bit of the stream here. We're gonna do some utopianism. 1950s utopia. So one thing I would say about the left right now is like we have completely lost our futurism. Our ability to like envision a future. If you think about what is the political message of this time, even from us as lefties, it's kind of go back to something. So the right are trying to like say future city 1960s. I can't remember. I've definitely used this clip a few times where I like show some futuristic cities. Yeah.
All roads lead as they have for centuries.
And bear in mind, you know, this style of architecture is completely dated and ugly now. But on the left, we talk about, I mean, the post-war periods. We talk about that. And on the right, they talk about, I don't know, some imaginary time where everyone was white and nothing bad happened. No one is like selling a beautiful future anymore. So in the post-war period, right, because everyone's needs were met, etc. Not everyone's, but you know, a good amount were. They started to have the mental capacity to like imagine the future. So you had this like utopian movement of people imagining what the future could look like, and they would say like, look, we in future, I mean, fucking what's his name? It's like Keynes. Fucking Jesus, it slipped my mind. John Maynard Keynes. He talked about like in the future we'll work 14 hours a week and shit like that. Like they talked about the future and what we can achieve, and their art they would show like futuristic views of the world. I'm trying to see if there's like what's the City of Tomorrow? Isn't that one? 1950. Yeah, there we go. Future of transport. Disney's Magic Highway. It's dystopian. That's Disney, isn't it? So like they used to imagine like the future a lot. They had a whole era of just like thinking about what the future world could be. We don't do that anymore. We don't really imagine the future. The sales pitch is let's return to the past. And I just think on the left we could be a bit more visionary. I think selling people an optimistic view of the future could be good. If you're an artist or if you're like a architect or like city plan type person, having a sort of, you know, concepts and thoughts about how a future city could work. I mean, like some of those 15-minute cities do that, but I just think we could use that more, like sell a good look of the future. But yeah, it was just a thought, man. Let's have a look. Maybe do I take one more caller or do I hop off? I think I'm gonna hop off. You know, we'll do more callers at some point. Jimmy, what's your opinion on the stat that people keep bringing up about millionaires leaving the UK in record numbers? Do you think you'll have? I did that in my recent video. A lot of those, a lot of those studies. One of them's done by the Heritage Foundation and one of them's done by the Adam Smith Institute. Heritage Foundation were behind Project 2025. Adam Smith Institute, I don't know the full story of them, but I mean, they're a very capitalist organisation, right? So just always bear that in mind, where they're coming from. The study that said that loads of people are leaving Britain was done by looking at people's LinkedIn profiles and seeing where they tagged their locations. It's not like a peer-reviewed study. It's not like grounded in, I don't know, census. It's not grounded in like actual, like we have proof this person lives here. They have said that to us. They looked at LinkedIn profiles and they looked at where people's pictures were taken and the geolocations of those pictures. It wasn't a very extensive report. Also, when you do look at it, Adam Smith Institute advised Thatcher. So just bear that in mind, right? And bear in mind when it came out. It came out just as Labour got in power and they said they were going to close the non-dom loophole. And all of a sudden, millionaires are leaving Britain. Think about it. If they went, we're going to close the non-dom loophole, every single millionaire just went and disappeared overnight. Like in a month, they all fucking hucked it abroad. Anyway, the amount that they said that we were losing is 0.5% of our millionaires. 0.5%. So, for perspective, is 0.5% of our millionaires is apparently what we're losing. The nations that they claimed they were going to, many of those nations were higher tax than us. Like, they were going to Amsterdam, they were going to Paris, they were going to Australia. These are high tax nations. So if the argument is we're taxing them to oblivion, we're not. Our fucking business rates, our business taxes, corporate tax, whatever, they're not that much higher than anyone else. They're about the same as many nations. It's mythology that right-wingers do instantly to make you scared of doing anything against the powerful. That's what they do every time. It's like, that's their shit. Jimmy would be the wettest PM. I would probably be the wettest PM, I agree. Jimmy for Prime Minister, yeah. Go enjoy a beer in the sun, mate. You've been working hard. Thank you, man. Yeah, I might do that, you know. Sunny. Do I have any beer? I think I have some Prosecco. That's what me and my missus drink. The left-wing vision of the future is pretty much that of Star Trek. But we need to be proud about, you know, like, have some fucking passion. We can't always just be, like, you know, oh, look, Trump's really bad. We have to start selling something. You're on here trolling lefties, so yeah, I made assumption. Only issue with high taxes, you can't see where the money is being spent. Jimmy, should we just copy Norway? In many ways, but not entirely. Always bear Thatcher in mind. Anyway, lads, it's been really fun. Really enjoyed it. Love you all. Stay sane. Remember, as I say, reform winning is an appetite for anti-establishment and a change from the status quo. Right? Remember that. Remember that. Don't be disappointed. This is an opportunity. We need to take the opportunity. So, yeah. No sweat. Don't lose sleep. Enjoy the sun. Love you all. I'm going to play an advert because I'm a greedy capitalist. Bling blow. That was fun.